These 8 countries show up on almost every retire abroad list you'll find on the internet. Beautiful beaches, cheap rent, friendly locals, and a cost of living that sounds too good to be true. And for some of them, it is too good to be true. I've talked to dozens of expats who packed up their lives, sold the house, and flew overseas to their dream retirement, only to come home broke, sick, or stuck in a legal nightmare within 2 years. Today, I'm counting down 8 countries you will regret retiring to in 2026, and I guarantee at least 2 of these are on your short list right now. The number 1 pick might genuinely shock you because it's the country every single retirement blog tells you to move to. Stay until the end because I'll also share the one test that separates a retirement paradise from a retirement trap. Before we jump in, I want to be clear. None of these countries are bad places. They are beautiful. They have incredible cultures, and real people do retire there happily. The problem is the gap between what the internet tells you and what actually happens on the ground. That's what catches people. If this kind of honest breakdown is useful to you, subscribing really does help us keep making them. Alright, let's get into it. Number 8. Greece. On paper, it's the dream. Santorini sunsets, $3 espressos, ancient ruins out your window. But here's what the travel blogs leave out. Greece's bureaucracy is legendary, and not in a good way. Getting a residence permit can take 6 to 12 months of paperwork, repeated trips to government offices that close at 2 p.m., and forms that only exist in Greek. The Golden Visa program, the one that used to let you buy property for 250,000 euros and get residency, just doubled its minimum to 500,000 in most popular areas. Healthcare is a mixed bag. The public system is underfunded after years of economic crisis. Private care is better, but concentrated in Athens and Thessaloniki. If you retire on a quiet island, the nearest hospital might be a ferry ride away. And taxes. Greece taxes your worldwide income if you become a resident, and the rates are steep, up to 44%. Some retirees qualify for a flat 7% rate on foreign pensions, but the paperwork to secure that is, you guessed it, a bureaucratic marathon. The islands are gorgeous for a vacation. Living there year-round on a fixed income is a very different story. Number 7. Belize. It's the only English-speaking country in Central America, and that alone puts it on every retiree's radar. The Qualified Retired Persons Program sounds amazing. No tax on foreign income, duty-free imports on your household goods, and a straightforward path to residency if you can show $2,000 a month in income. Sounds perfect. Until you get there. Belize is one of the most expensive countries in the region. Groceries cost almost as much as the United States because nearly everything is imported. A basic 2-bedroom apartment in a safe area runs $800 to $1,200 a month. Not the $300 paradise you read about. That cheap number is a shack with no air conditioning in a town with a serious crime problem. And crime is the real issue. Belize City consistently ranks among the most dangerous cities in the Western Hemisphere. Even the tourist areas like San Pedro and Placencia have seen rising property crime. Healthcare is limited to a few small hospitals, and anything serious means a medical evacuation flight to Mexico or the US at your expense. Belize can work if you have a higher budget and pick your location very carefully. But it is not the cheap, safe English-speaking retirement haven the brochures promise. Number 6. The Dominican Republic. White sand beaches, year-round warmth, and a retirement visa that requires just $1,500 a month in provable income. The DR attracts thousands of retirees, especially to the north coast around Sosua and Cabarete. But here's what goes wrong. The tourist zones have a well-documented problem with scams targeting older foreigners. Real estate fraud is common. Expats have bought homes only to discover the title was fake, the land was disputed, or the builder disappeared mid-construction with their deposit. Outside the resorts, infrastructure is rough. Power outages happen daily in some areas, lasting hours. Roads flood in hurricane season. Tap water is not drinkable. The public healthcare system is overwhelmed, and even private hospitals outside Santo Domingo can be limited. And there's a personal safety issue that rarely makes the travel blogs. Petty crime targeting retirees, home break-ins, motorcycle snatch thefts, and muggings is a persistent reality, especially in the expat-heavy North Coast towns. The Dominican Republic can be wonderful for a vacation, but retiring there requires a level of street smarts and risk tolerance that many retirees simply don't expect going in. Number 5. Colombia. Medellin gets called the city of eternal spring, and in the last decade it became one of the hottest expat destinations on the planet. The weather is perfect, the cost of living is low, and the culture is vibrant. So why is it on this list? Because the Colombia that digital nomads discovered in 2018 is not the Colombia retirees encounter in 2026. Visa rules have tightened significantly. The popular retirement visa now requires proof of a pension or investment income equivalent to about 3 times the Colombian minimum wage, and renewals have become unpredictable. The government has cracked down on long-term tourist visa stays, and overstaying now carries real consequences. Safety is still a genuine concern outside the well-known expat neighborhoods. Even in Medellin's upscale El Poblado, reports of drugging and robbery targeting foreigners have made international headlines repeatedly in the last 2 years. And there's a cultural gap the blogs gloss over. Outside major cities, very little English is spoken, and the legal and banking systems are notoriously difficult to navigate without fluent Spanish and a trusted local attorney. If you speak Spanish, have a solid local network, and stay in the right neighborhoods, Medellin can be incredible. But going in blind on a retirement blog's recommendation is a recipe for a bad experience. Number 4. The Philippines. English is widely spoken, the people are famously warm and welcoming, and your dollar goes incredibly far. A comfortable retirement in Dumaguete or Cebu can genuinely cost under $1,000 a month. So what's the problem? Natural disasters. The Philippines sits in the Pacific Typhoon Belt and the Ring of Fire. Typhoons hit multiple times a year, and they're not minor storms. Super Typhoon Rai in 2021 destroyed entire towns and left millions without power for weeks. Earthquakes are a regular occurrence. If you're retiring on a fixed income with no way to quickly evacuate, this is a serious risk. Infrastructure outside Metro Manila is inconsistent. Internet can be painfully slow. Medical facilities in smaller cities may not meet the standards you're used to. And there's a legal quirk that trips up many retirees. Foreigners cannot own land in the Philippines. You can buy a condo unit, but not a house with land, which forces complicated workarounds like long-term leases or putting property in a Filipino spouse's name. The bureaucracy is slow, and resolving any legal dispute as a foreigner is an uphill battle. The Philippines is one of the friendliest places on earth, but the combination of natural disaster risk, infrastructure gaps, and property restrictions makes it much harder than the cost of living alone suggests. Number 3. Turkey. Istanbul, Antalya, the Mediterranean coast. Turkey offers incredible food, rich history, and a cost of living that's dropped dramatically for anyone holding dollars or euros. And that's actually the problem. The Turkish lira has lost over 80% of its value against the dollar in the last 5 years. That sounds great if you're spending dollars, but it creates a wildly unstable environment. Prices in lira change constantly. Landlords adjust rents every few months to keep up with inflation, which has hit over 60% in recent years. Your rent in dollar terms might stay low, but the chaos around you is real. Local businesses close and reopen under new names. Imported goods vanish from shelves, and the political situation adds another layer of uncertainty. Government policies can shift quickly, and expat-relevant rules, visa requirements, banking regulations, residency permits have changed multiple times in just the last 3 years with little warning. Turkey also quietly suspended new residency permit applications in many popular areas, including parts of Antalya and Istanbul, leaving some retirees who were mid-process suddenly in limbo. Turkey is an extraordinary country to visit, but building a stable, predictable retirement there right now is a gamble most financial advisors would tell you not to take. Number 2. Portugal. This one will upset some people because Portugal has been the #1 retirement destination in Europe for years. Lisbon, Porto, the Algarve. It had everything: safety, great food, English widely spoken, excellent healthcare, and a golden visa program that attracted investors from around the world. Here's what changed. The Golden Visa program was scrapped for real estate investments in 2023. The non-habitual resident tax regime, which gave retirees a flat 10% tax rate on foreign pensions, was eliminated in 2024. Those were the 2 biggest financial incentives that made Portugal the obvious choice, and both are gone. Meanwhile, housing costs have exploded. Lisbon rents have nearly doubled in 5 years, driven partly by all those expats and digital nomads who flooded in. Portuguese locals have been priced out of their own cities, and the political backlash against foreign residents is growing. In 2025, new restrictions on short-term rentals and foreign property purchases are being debated. Portugal is still a beautiful, safe country, but the Portugal that retirement blogs are still recommending, the one with cheap rent, special tax breaks, and an easy visa, doesn't exist anymore. If you're going based on a blog post from 2022, you're going to a country that no longer offers what attracted you in the first place. Number 1. Costa Rica. I know, this is probably the most recommended retirement destination on the entire internet. Pura vida, no army, universal healthcare, incredible biodiversity, and a stable democracy. And all of that is true. Costa Rica is a genuinely wonderful country. So why is it number 1 on this list? Because the gap between what you expect and what you actually get is bigger here than anywhere else. Costa Rica is expensive. It is the most expensive country in Central America by a wide margin. A modest 2-bedroom home in the Central Valley runs $1,200 to $1,800 a month. Groceries cost nearly the same as the United States, and imported goods cost more. A basic car costs 30 to 50% more than it does stateside because of import taxes. That $1,500 budget that buys luxury in Southeast Asia barely covers the basics here. Healthcare is another surprise. The public system, the CAJA, is available to residents, but wait times for specialists can stretch months. Most expats end up paying for private care on top of their CAJA contributions, which adds hundreds to your monthly costs. And the roads. Once you leave the capital, roads can be unpaved, poorly maintained, and genuinely dangerous in the rainy season. Getting from your beach town to the nearest quality hospital can mean a 2-hour drive on sketchy mountain roads. Costa Rica isn't a scam, and it isn't a bad country. It's on this list because it's the most overpromised retirement destination in the world. If you go in expecting cheap paradise, you will be disappointed. If you go in with a realistic budget of $2,500 or more and your eyes open, it can work. But at that budget, every country in my last video gives you twice as much. So there's your list. And notice the pattern. Not one of these countries is a bad place. Every single one has real retirees living there happily. The problem is never the country. It's the gap between marketing and reality. The blogs, the YouTube videos, the real estate agents selling you beachfront condos, they all show you the highlight reel. Nobody shows you the power outage at 2 a.m., the 6-month visa nightmare, or the hospital that's a 3-hour drive away. Here's the test I promised you at the beginning. Before you commit to any country, ask yourself one question. Would I still want to live here on my worst day? Not the day the sunset is perfect and the wine is $4. The day the power goes out, you can't find your medication, and nobody within 10 miles speaks your language. If the answer is still yes, you've probably found your place. If you haven't seen it yet, go watch my last video on 7 countries where $1,500 a month buys a luxury retirement. It's the perfect companion to this one, the do's after the don'ts. Drop a comment and tell me which country on this list surprised you the most. And subscribe, because next week we're covering the hidden retirement visa loopholes that most people don't know about. See you in that one.